What's up, folks? Maximilian here. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk, talking about things amongst the community and a different variety of subjects. I think the last episode of Real Talk was discussing how to get better at fighting games, and essentially what it takes on a competitive level to fully understand how a fighting game works and what you need to do to become better. I was trying to break it down for a lot of people that don't understand how to get good at fighting games, and it seemed like I got a pretty good response of folks that are trying to figure things out and what step they need to take to get a little bit better. What I wanted to cover this week was something a bit more personal and has actually been pretty frequently discussed on the channel in, between a variety of videos for the past 6 months or so. And it's, why doesn't Max play, blank game? Why doesn't Max play Persona 4 or Tekken Tag Tournament 2 or provide footage for a variety of different titles? If you guys have checked out back in the day when these titles did come out, it did provide a little bit of footage and coverage for things like Persona 4 Arena as well as Tekken Tag Tournament 2. I never got into the full online warrior status of Tekken Tag 2 that I wanted to get into, but I did end up making a couple episodes for Persona 4 and provided coverage for that period of time. You can also consider, Skullgirls in this same bracket as well. Anyway, it's essentially when I cover a fighting game for a pretty brief period of time within a month of its release, and then you don't see much footage or any footage of that game since then. So between this, a lot of people express concerns about this because they want to see their said fighting game do well, and they think that if their fighting game is promoted on this channel heavily, that it will do well or do extremely good, which essentially isn't the case. What I wanted to break down was essentially why I didn't play these games, more specifically Persona 4 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2, because we can talk about Soul Calibur 5 as well, but I kind of enjoyed Soul Calibur 5, not nearly as much as the older Soul Caliburs, and it had a very good online functionality to it, but at the same time, I was running into issues of trying to find people, and that was a big factor of trying to find opposition. But at the same time, if I make a shout out, we can easily get people online for any of these games. Just as similar how I do for Marvel vs. Capcom and Darkstalkers and Third Strike and stuff like that. So either way, people not being online isn't that much of an excuse anymore, because I can just ask people to jump online and we can get into some matches and get some online warrior vids up. But it was more of a different reason why Persona 4 and Tekken Tag 2 didn't get Online Warrior Series, which are the two games I get probably the most frequent questions about. Why the hell did I stop doing coverage for these games? The first one being Persona 4 Arena. One of the things that was intriguing about this game was the way it looked to me at first, and that a lot of people seemed to be very interested in it. I'm not that much into the whole style of gameplay system for Arc System games. I've tried BlazBlue very briefly some time ago in the past. I'm just not very much a fan of that style of system. The last big game of theirs that I played was probably Guilty Gear XX, way back in the day on PlayStation 2, and I enjoyed that game, but I feel like even after that, when Guilty Gear Accent Core coming out, and I grabbed that game as well, and I just felt like I was kind of done with this style of game, and I didn't enjoy it very much. By that time, I had already made the conversion over to games like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and Capcom vs. SNK 2. This is around the mid-2000s or so. And I didn't really feel the need to play any more Guilty Gear. I just didn't. I thought in comparison, the style of these Capcom games, I enjoyed a lot more, as well as the characters and things like that. And that definitely did translate over to Persona 4 Arena. Persona 4 Arena captivated me at first because of so many people interested in it, and I want to provide at least something for folks to get into the game at least. But the more I played it, the more it seemed like this game is very tailored to people that love Persona. People that love Persona 3 on PlayStation and stuff like that, while the only Persona game that I found any enjoyment from, or even played for that matter, was the original Persona on PlayStation 1. So there wasn't much for me in Persona 4 Arena to keep me in there. I really didn't know who any of these characters were at all, other than the fact that I watched a couple of the Giant Bomb episodes of them doing a full run-through of Persona 4. Persona 3, but or was it Persona 3 or Persona 4? Either way, I actually don't know that much about the lore of the series, but regardless, there were multiple characters from multiple different games of the Persona series, and the online worked really well for the game. It's actually a really well and fantastically thought-provoking fighting game. It's just, I found it very difficult to get into at the time, especially because it came out in mid-August, and for you guys that don't know, I was directing, acting, writing, and filming a movie at that time, as well as editing, and it was Retro Assist Me. Retro Assist Me was technically a film, like a short-length film that we had to shoot with very limited time, limited budget, and resources available to us. And it was a very stressful experience, but overall so worth it in the very end. And it was an official product for Capcom, so I took it very seriously as well. I was right in the middle of shooting that at the time, so my time resources available to me during that time were very limited, and the time to learn a new fighting game and like sit down for more than like 3 hours a day to learn Persona, which I did when I first jumped into it. I spent like a couple of hours and just tried out Akihiko, and it's just like, let's go! And I was having a lot of fun playing online and stuff like that, but I found that the next time I was able to play literally wasn't for a complete month later. And I was like, oh, I gotta try to get back into Persona, and by that time, I was just getting completely wrecked. And I only had maybe like an hour and a half to try to like get into this game, and I found that the only games I can cover at that period were games that I already knew how to play, kind of, and were already aware of with what was going on in the community. And at that time, I was kind of behind on news, and there was a lot of things that didn't work in my favor at that point because of Persona coming out in a time frame that just didn't work very well for me. And it kind of just dropped off my interest level because essentially there was not a lot of... There was some community support, and I watched a lot of videos for the game, but I think Persona 4 Arena is an absolutely amazing fighting game, and you should go out and buy it if you get a chance, especially if you like Persona. But it just wasn't my thing, and maybe if I stuck with it at the time, it would have been better. And this is actually a similar story for a game that came out about a month after Persona 4 Arena did, right as I was at the tail end of editing everything and getting into all this stuff for Retro Assist Me, and in the final like production phases of all the special effects and post-editing and sound balancing and all the stuff that went into making that thing happen. And it was Tekken Tag Tournament 2. So Tekken Tag 2 dropped, I think, in mid-September, and I was totally jazzed and ready to go, and I was wanting to learn more Tekken and all this stuff, and having a lot of fun with it. Learned the combat and the tag system pretty quick, and you guys might have seen a combo video and some impressions and some... Like, I did about 6 or 7, maybe 8 to 10 videos of Tekken Tag 2 when it first came out. But essentially that ran into the similar situation. I also noticed that when I came back to the game, I found the tag system to be kind of like really annoying. How people would just like come diving in on the end of the screen at almost any given time, and controlling the match because of that felt a little difficult. I don't know that much about the Tekken 6 engine, and I actually avidly say that I don't understand the Tekken 6 engine at all, and it added all this stuff on top of the Tekken 6 engine because it was just a modified version of T6 with tag. And I didn't find that interesting enough for myself to really get into. I played Tekken 6 for about 2 weeks when it first came out, and then I just didn't really care anymore. It was just one of those games that was kind of fun at the start, but I actually found myself going back and playing Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection with friends all over again, if not old Tekken games like Tekken Tag Tournament 1 and stuff like that. Those are my favorite Tekken titles, essentially Tekken 5, Tekken Tag 1, and Tekken 3, but between all those games nowadays, I'm probably not decent at them at all anymore. And back in the day, I could pretty much hold my own, and it was a lot of fun. It was essentially some of my favorite fighting games back in the day from Namco were a result of Soul Calibur and Tekken. But just Tekken Tag 2, it didn't do it for me. I completely avidly say that this is the best Tekken game that you could possibly buy. It's the most feature-rich, and it's the most perfect one if you're a Tekken fan, and if you're looking for a 3D style of fist-on-fist brawler, please go and buy it, because it's absolutely amazing, and the online is incredible. But as far as coverage on this channel, it just wasn't for me. Whether these games will never make an appearance again, I won't say. A lot of the times, me diving into new games or covering games that, you know, are important to me are essentially what comes down to what I want to play. A lot of people accuse me of just going for, like, you know, the things that just get big views and stuff like that. And if that was the case, you wouldn't see Third Strike or Marvel vs. Capcom Origins on this channel at all. I truly love those games, and even when it comes to Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I have a big problem with it being online, and I kind of enjoy keeping up with that game because so many people enjoy that game as well. But even other titles like Street Fighter 4, and if people call me ball hogging on Capcom, I mean, I avidly don't like Street Fighter 4. I've made a couple of video series talking about how I dislike that game, and I'm kind of looking forward to the new one with new characters and stuff like that, but for the most part, I don't want to play more Street Fighter 4 in general, so we'll see how it goes. I'm definitely looking forward to some newer games coming out, like Injustice. Yatagarasu is actually a game that recently dropped on PC, and is very similar to Third Strike, and is a very faithful 2D fighter made by, I think, the ex-King of Fighters guys. So there are some games that are not of the Capcom variety that I'm definitely interested in. And even when it comes to games and the future from this point forward, and maybe going back and playing Soul Calibur 5, what you guys can expect from this channel and from here on out are essentially games that I kind of want to play. Whether the game is effective, whether the game captures my eye or keeps me interested for a very long period of time is up to the game, and is up to how many people are interested in, like, you know, supporting the game and stuff like that. And a lot of people would accuse me for not supporting certain titles even though I made several videos for them. But this is what I would have to say to those people. I put a lot of time and a lot of money into making something like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 videos when that game originally came out with Assist Me and the Online Warrior and stuff like that. That took up a huge amount of time and a fairly decent amount of money, like in the thousands of dollars range, because I wanted it to be really good and I wanted it to be something special, and I spent a lot of my availability just making it as good as I possibly could make it be at the time. And that kind of stands true to this day with any of the big projects that we essentially do that involve filming and stuff like that. What I have to say to the people that complain about me not doing big coverage for things like, you know, Persona 4 or Tekken, guys, if you really love these games, then you have to do something about it. I was just a dude. I was just a casual dude that played fighting games and loved the hell out of them, went to tournaments pretty frequently, and has been competitive for the past, like, almost 10 years, and has really been in the competitive scene for especially Capcom games and EVO and the Southern California scene of things. And once I decided to do something about it, that's when people started to pay attention, was when I finally made something that was worth watching, you know what I mean? So that's not out of the possibility for anybody. Anybody has the ability to do that. That's the crazy thing about YouTube, is that you get an audience, and the audience that shows up is free of admission, and it's whether or not the content is good enough. So I'm not saying the content that has been created for the games isn't great, because I've watched a ton of it for those titles, and a lot of it is really exceptional and very good at teaching you the game. But what I'm saying is that if you guys really, really want to see your game thrive, then the responsibility isn't in the hands of somebody else. It's actually in yours to do something, and you really need to be the change you want to see. So now that I've got that off my chest and you guys understand a little bit of what you can expect from, like, videos from myself in the future, and games that are coming out now, and coverage that you might expect to see, well, it's pretty much down to what I feel like playing. But until next time, thank you guys very much for watching and listening to this big old topic that has been in the back of my mind for quite some time, and I'm glad to finally make a video on it so everybody can understand. And if there's a topic that you'd like me to cover in the community or about the channel or something in general, maybe we can take a look at it in a later episode. Until then, my name is Max, and I'll see you guys next time.